It finally happened, baby. Dolph Ziggler is back. He showed up in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Now, what does that mean? Is he in New Japan Pro Wrestling? Is he all elite? You never know. I'll explain that in a second, but one thing's for sure. With Dolph Ziggler back, you can expect the good selling, and probably expect some great storytelling, and the ass shaking. Oh, the ass shaking. Shut up, I know you've missed it too. It's a bittersweet for me personally. I was writing a video about Royal Rumble, potential surprises, and I had Dolph Ziggler in mind, because at the end of the day, whenever WWE fire or release someone, a lot of times they bring them back. So I was still holding on to that possibility, because at the end of the day, Dolph Ziggler is one of my favorite WWE wrestlers of all time. I think he was criminally underrated, unappreciated by the WWE, so I still wanted to see him back and potentially be involved in something more interesting, but it's naive to think that anything would be different in the WWE for Dolph Ziggler. I always had a feeling that Triple H never really saw anything in Dolph Ziggler and probably never liked him that much. Maybe I'm just talking out of my ass. Whatever the case may be, he's still back and he got a brand new gimmick. Let's talk about it. So at New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom 18, he randomly showed up with his brother Ryan Nemeth. They watched the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championship match, which could only mean one thing. These two brothers are going to be a tag team, and I believe it's great. It's probably something they always wanted to do. Like, you grew up watching wrestling with your brother, and you're like, we're gonna be tag team champions one day. Well, now it's a possibility, and it's most likely going to happen, and for that reason, I do believe he might stay in New Japan Pro Wrestling, but like I've said, there are many possibilities. What's also interesting is that they stayed and watched the IWGP Global Championship match. It was a triple threat match where David Finlay beat Will Ospreay and Jon Moxley to become the first ever IWGP Global Champion. And this is where Dolph Ziggler built his singles rivalry. Finlay talked some trash to Nick, which led to a brawl. So it seems like Dolph Ziggler or Nick Nemeth is coming for that new championship. Doesn't necessarily mean that you're not gonna see Dolph Ziggler or Nick Nemeth now in AEW, because there's this partnership going on, and I think eventually it will lead to Dolph Ziggler going to AEW, because obviously it's more convenient to work in the US. But the thing is, I think so far, I mean, it was only one night, but I think so far it looks really promising. He looks like a star again. I would never imagine someone like Dolph fitting in New Japan Pro Wrestling, but for whatever reason it does. He looks like I don't know how to explain this, like a Hollywood American pretty boy, I guess. And he didn't look this important in years. Who knows, maybe he will eventually, join the Bullet Club, be the leader. I have no idea. I could only hope that it would be so successful he would become like Cody or Kenny Omega, or anyone that got so popular out of the WWE. WWE won them in their company again. But that's just wishful thinking. I think at the end of the day, this will lead to Dolph Ziggler going to AEW. Now, there's also a new video that was uploaded a few hours ago on his brother's channel called Wanted Man, which is pretty typical at first. Police, prison, you get the idea. Every single former WWE superstar does this. So he breaks out of the police car and he starts fighting these zombie-ass looking motherfuckers. It was a very well shot video. The production is great. It gave us a few hints on what this new gimmick is going to be all about. By the end of the video, we got one of the most impactful super kicks ever. I mean, the guy's head just exploded. And Dolph Ziggler is a wanted man. I gotta be honest, the first thing that came to my mind is the similarities between Adam Page and Dolph Ziggler. They already look alike, and wanted is kind of a cowboy thing too. I don't know, do I make any sense right here? What's also interesting is that at the end of the video, we got to hear his new theme song. And the reason I know it's his new theme song is because, well, it's singing about a wanted man. And of course, it's by Downstate, who made songs for, well, Dolph Ziggler for the second time now with The Miz, Cody, so it's pretty obvious. And we don't know whether he's going to double down on this gimmick. Is his attire going to change, or this is just a nickname? But I guess the idea is that he's the hottest free agent in pro wrestling right now, which is probably true. Out of all the names that got released by the WWE a couple of months ago, I believe that, Dolph Ziggler was the biggest name and, the most disappointing release in my opinion. And the reason I like the fact that Dolph Ziggler is changing up his gimmick, or at least trying to do something new, is because his name is kinda tainted. Not that he could use Dolph Ziggler again, but he needed some kind of change. WWE for the past few years didn't do this man any favor, so he needed something new. If he wants to be successful and still win championships, if he still cares about wrestling, which it seems like he does, we thought he's gonna be in comedy, but if he really wants to do something new, if he really wants to go further, he cannot be a nostalgia act. Like, I'm a huge fan of John Morrison, right? But unfortunately, he's just being John Morrison with a new name everywhere he goes, and he's not that big of a name to do that. I really hope Dolph is not gonna become one of these guys who are, wrestling on dark. I really hope that's not gonna be the case. Nick Nemeth also confirms his first match back after being released from WWE. He said, "You are looking at the most wanted man in professional wrestling today, the hottest free agent, and I'm laying it down. I'm laying down a challenge in Puerto Rico for Mr. Ratings Ray Gonzalez. Do you think you can step in the ring and go toe-to-toe with the best damn thing going today? I am pro wrestling, baby." On January 20, WWC Euphoria, the most wanted man Nick Nemeth is coming for you. And every time someone gets released, it's obviously a sad day for wrestling fans. We live through this shit, right? But, most of the time someone gets released, you get sad, but there's nothing you can do about it. But there are certain wrestlers for me, like Dolph Ziggler, for example, wherever they go, I'll follow. I'll watch to support because I really respect his work. I think he was, like I've said, criminally underappreciated by the WWE, and I hope big things are coming for Nick Nemeth. And whatever happens next, it needs to happen fast because he's not a 30-year-old superstar anymore. Nick Nemeth is 43 years old, so obviously the time is kinda ticking, but when you look at the WWE superstars, AJ is older, LA Knight is only 2 years younger, and he's the top guy in the WWE. Dolph really has a loyal audience, so I believe it's still possible to do something big. And obviously AEW has a very big roster right now, but I believe it's still the right move. Unless they put him in some shitty tag team, some comedy shtick, which they kinda do nowadays way too often. Like, a lot of that shit is just ridiculous. But I could definitely see Dolph Ziggler, winning the TNT championship. Another thing about Dolph is that he doesn't necessarily even need to do this. I mean, the man made a lot of money in the WWE. I believe he's one of the most highest paid superstars, which is probably why he got released. They were not using him anymore, so they felt like they're wasting money. As much as I want him to be this big thing in pro wrestling again, he doesn't even necessarily need that. All he needs is to have fun. I mean, the man made his money. Now he can just do a lot of fun shit he always wanted to do. But anyway, that's all I got for you. A big day for professional wrestling. Thank you so much for watching. Like this video, subscribe if you already didn't. The Great One, peace, love, and hugs. It's been a pleasure.